Whoa. All right, guys, we went live unexpectedly. Apparently, I bumped the table, and that was all it took to get this show on the road there, okay? But it's that time of year again. I get, I don't know, 2 to 4 of these per year. But I use an online comic book shop called G-Mart. I think they're out of Chicago, Illinois or something, right? I've been ordering off of them since 2002, and today is February 10th, 2020. So it's been quite a few years. But got a great haul in today. I'm really excited about this one. Some of the stuff is stuff they've replaced from the last 2 shipments from them being a little bit damaged. And then this is stuff that I caught on sale, I guess around December. Bought 2 or 3 things. And of course, there's actually some new books in here, which is amazing on this channel, all right? So right off the bat, let's get this out of the way. Now, I want to brag on them big time because I actually was having some anxiety a little bit because I bought something in this I really wanted undamaged when it was delivered. But over the years, I might have had maybe 2 packages up until the last year over all those years where the books came in damaged. And they were offered to replace the books, so they did, and all this stuff like that. But this the last shipment that I got in October was no excuse for it, and I emailed them. They took care of it, and this time the packaging came in immaculate condition. It was like a brand new box. They took the time to press this between cardboard, tape them up, and everything. Hey, Rob Ripper, yeah, everything's going pretty good, pretty good. So some of the stuff that they have replaced that came in completely flat, and I got to keep the old books, is this issue of Back Issue, where it's a celebration. I think it's the 30-year anniversary of Tim Burton's Batman with Michael Keaton. A lot of great interviews in this. If you're a fan of that movie or you were around at the time, you definitely want this. Excuse the glare. But that's Jerry Ordway art. I've met Jerry Ordway. He did a fantastic movie adaptation with Denny O'Neil that had fantastic art in it and things like that. So going all the way back to 1989 with Back Issue magazine, celebrating the 30th anniversary of the real Batman, in my opinion. Great stuff. And then it's like I always love the ads. I remember watching this when I was a kid. The Man from Atlantis comes to DVD, and looks like it might be Blu-ray. That cracks me up. Okay. So other books they replaced, and I'll go ahead and tell you, I've read like the first book and half of the second book of this 3-issue miniseries, and I don't want to say that it's not good per se. It's just that I kind of forgot I was reading it. You know what I mean? I was just sort of like, okay, Superman is he's training to be a Navy SEAL and all this stuff. I'm like, okay, but it's the Black Label, John Romita Jr., Frank Miller. For you old school seasoned guys, these were the guys that brought you some Daredevil, The Man Without Fear, which was going to be a graphic novel. It ended up being a 5-part miniseries. But now they jump on here, Frank Miller, John Romita Jr. on Superman Year 1 through Black Label, where, of course, this is free of continuity and all sorts of things. But, yeah, I was like, I read the first 2 chapters. Again, they're replacing these books. And I got to tell you, man, it's just not grabbing me. Maybe he's building up to something. And I don't believe I had issue number 3, but I ended up getting the Miller cover is what they sent me. I can't remember if this is what I actually ordered or not. So hopefully this is where it picks up. I'm one of those people, I still dig Frank Miller's art. I've watched it. I feel like I've watched it evolve at least for 35 years. And then looking at his back issue stuff and his earlier Daredevil work and Marvel 2-in-1 work. I watched it evolve for 40 years, which was fantastic. So for him to be as old as he is, recovering from alcoholism and all sorts of whatever health problems he has, it's kind of cool to see him at least still picking up the pencil. What we got here? John Jones, about to take a gamble on Transmetropolitan and Invisibles. Transmetropolitan, I read a few of them. I read the first issue. I think I might have read it in trade. I have friends that swear by that book. They love it. Now, Invisibles, that's a wild ride. I'm prepared for Grant Morrison when I read him. So just remember that this is the series that Grant Morrison claims he would take drugs and hallucinogenics and stuff and then write. So just remember that. I'm having a real hard problem getting through, I think it's volume 5. I'll check that in a minute. Okay, so that sale I was telling you that G-Mart had, can't remember. They had a big sale on their variant issues. I want to say it was around Christmas, and they had a sale on their trades. So I was like, yeah, why not? I looked up on there and I found something. I went straight for it because this came out, God, 10 years ago probably. And I've seen this book. I've actually seen this book. People try to sell it for $100. I've seen people sell it for 25, but I ended up getting this for $5, which I couldn't believe. No idea what it's worth now. Okay, there we go with the camera. No idea what it's worth now, right? But we go back to the before Watchmen, where they had a series of books and they brought in all these great teams to tell stories of the Watchmen, Alan Moore Watchmen world before the Watchmen miniseries. So we had a bunch of miniseries and a few one-shots and stuff, but there was tons of variant covers. And this was the one I really, really wanted, and it was the Jim Steranko Rorschach. It's wild to see Jim Steranko still putting out work today. When you consider it was in the 60s that he was bringing pop art, like Andy Warhol pop art and stuff, into comics and was so innovative and everything like that. And when I look at his work, it just kind of makes me wonder, is this how pop art would have evolved if it had gone straight through, you know? I'm not a real big historian on high art. I'm one of those guys that took a few art classes in school and back in college for out of just pure interest and to get that merit, to have a full schedule and stuff. But yeah, it's just really great to have this. This is going to be one of those books I never get rid of. And I really don't recommend Brian Azzarello's story at all. Kind of thought the story actually was a bit of a dud, in my opinion. It takes place in the 70s. Had like a taxi driver feel, or I don't know what he was doing, right? And something else that kind of fizzled at the end. A lot of people may have liked it, they may have not, but I feel like a lot of the delays with this book, and I feel like they changed the ending. I really do, to fit in a few things. Plus, this is where all of a sudden we have timelines change, so we can have Bendis' Legion and on. I don't know. We can go on and on. It's one of the reasons I think the ending was changed, because I don't think Bendis was in the picture when they started plotting this, you know. But anyway, after almost 3 years, we finally get a complete Doomsday Clock. Number 12 here, Superman versus Doomsday. It finally happened. I've already read this online, and I got to tell you, I was really underwhelmed with the ending. That is by no way, shape, or form an actual sequel to Alan Moore's Watchmen. Rob Ripa, off subject. I want that Tommy Hilfiger shirt. I love those classic photos. Nice, good eyes. Yeah, I've gotten complimented on this and stuff. I actually found this in a Goodwill. I don't know, maybe a couple years ago. Yeah, I grab stuff like this because it's retro and funny, in my opinion. Okay. That's funny. That may be the first time in forever that somebody has told me they wanted a shirt and it wasn't a concert T-shirt. John Jones delays killed the momentum on Doomsday Clock, and I agree it doesn't feel like how Johns was writing that ending. Yeah, there's no doubt in my mind that a lot of things got taken from Jeff Johns that were plotted out at the end of the DC 52 that they told us if we hang in with them for 2 years, we're going to get a big payoff with all the books. No doubt in my mind it was swerved. Okay, now this made me laugh. I'm one of those people, if it's got Crisis on Infinite Earths on it, I'm there. I'll check it out. Doesn't mean I'm going to spend my money, but I love Crisis on Infinite Earths. I was 12 years old, my era, my thing when I was a kid. Nothing hadn't been seen like it before, and it's been copied many times and stuff. But these DC 100-page giants that you can get at Walmart and stuff, they came out with 2 of them, Crisis on Infinite Earths. And I don't know why I haven't gotten one with this G-Mart haul yet, because I've already seen it and flipped through it at Walmart, issue number 2. But what I'm talking about is the DC 100-page giant Crisis on Infinite Earths. Now, besides the fact that this has a couple of reprints that I already have the originals of, and actually one of the books, I have an entire set of Crisis on Infinite Earths that I bought off the rack when I was 12, all 12 issues, signed by Marv Wolfman and George Perez. I think it was in 2013, at Heroes Con, that I got them to sign it. So for me to pick this up and then to figure out that the new story in this actually ties into the CW crossover, Crisis on Infinite Earths, which to me was a whole big dud for what they could have done. They actually had them fighting some kind of gigantic fuzzy toy. You know what I mean? They had a toy that was like 20 feet tall, and they're like, oh God, he's back. And I was just like, this is what they're doing in Crisis. So this is actually a tie-in to the CW show, not the proper Crisis on Infinite Earths from back in the day. Now, I can't wait to get my hands on issue 2 of this, because there's a Superman story where he meets all sorts of different Superman meets all different types of incarnations of himself from time and other dimensions, and it completely rips off an Alan Moore Supreme story. And I was just like flipping through this in Walmart. Didn't buy it because, like I said, I already have it ordered. 35% off on top of this $5 price tag on this thing. And I'm just sitting here like, oh, I can't wait to just tear this thing apart when I get it. Hey, Sam's out there. What's up, Sam? Okay, so going on to these things where, to me, this is the way to go. I think if I'm going to go to a comic book shop, I hate to say this, but from what I'm seeing and what I've touched on and what I've flipped through, this is the way to go. Sam Guthrie, it's trying to flood again in Mountain City. You guys are getting a lot of rain right now. Yeah, they're calling for more floods. For you guys that may have missed the show yesterday that I did and I was talking about it, we've had excessive flooding around here. And then on Friday and Saturday, we got followed up with like a blizzard, these weird blizzards in certain parts of 2-3 counties here. We were iced in there till about 2 o'clock on Saturday, I think, and stuff. And now they're calling for more. I heard on the radio that down where Sam Guthrie is in Johnson City, probably around the Virginia state line with Tennessee, they're probably going to get flooded again tonight the way the radio is talking. But anyway, if I was going to go into a comic book shop, this may be the way to go. Of these reprints, I grabbed these for years whenever they popped up. Here's one I got for 50 cents in an antique shop of the first appearance of Swamp Thing. You know what I'm saying? But now we have Swamp Thing #1. For those little holy grails that you may not be able to get now, or you want to save up and get later and to have in your collection, or if this is just good enough for you, these dollar comics and facsimile editions to me are the way to go. They're cheap, and I got these 65% off, you know. And this one's interesting because I didn't quite get what it was. I think I've just kind of flipped through them because I have quite a bit of Brave and the Bold and didn't feel like I needed it anymore. But this dollar comic, I actually bought this so I would go over my threshold of comic books that are held, because once you get $85, G-Mart, $85 worth of stock, G-Mart will ship it to you for free, and I'm a cheap bastard. But anyway, I bought this one because I was like 50 cents from what I needed. So I got this, and I didn't realize this, but I passed this up many times in dollar bins and just never paid attention. But this is the marriage of Earth 2, Batman, and Catwoman. You know, I was like all those years, you know, just passing this up, and I bet you anything I would not be able to find an original, but we have the dollar comic. To me, this is just the way to go. See, what do we got here? Sam Guthrie says it's trying to flood it down where he's at again. Stay safe, brother. John Jones says stay safe. England was or still getting battered by storms there. This is amazing. Sam Guthrie says he loves the dollar reprints. Yeah, they're cool, man. I like them a lot. Now, here's something I'm not quite sure if this is supposed to be a one-shot or not, because I've been keeping an eye out for the other ones to pre-order them. So I'm kind of glad this is in. But this is a sequel to the sequel of Dark Knight Returns. This is Dark Knight Returns, The Golden Child. Looks like I don't know, is that a Frank Miller cover? Yeah, I think I have the Frank Miller cover here, or someone who can draw very much like him. So, you know, we'll find out what this is about. I'm one of those people that, you know, I'll kind of support these books a little bit out of nostalgia, a little bit out of, I love the Dark Knight Returns universe, even when it seems like things get weird a little bit. There for a while, like DK2, the second one, I liked everything that had nothing to do with Batman. Everything, what they did was, I was like, let's do the Adam Returns, because he went Edgar Rice Burroughs on him with that in that book and stuff. I thought the Flash looked ridiculous in biker shorts, running shorts or whatever. But the turnaround, there's a lot of cool stuff that I think goes down in these books. And then the Master Race, what this jumps out of, the Dark Knight Returns Master Race, I thought that was just a safe book, you know. So yeah, I'm supporting these. And guys, I want to show a Marvel book. This isn't going to happen very much, but I'm going to put it under Vintage Marvel, which I will talk about. Oh, what we got here? Sam Guthrie. I buy all the X-Men True Believer dollar reprints, even though I already own the originals. Yeah, if you have the originals, you don't have to dig them out now. You know what I mean? You don't have to worry about depreciating the book. These dollar reprints, you can just whip them out and read the story that way. I read Golden Child. I was of two minds about it. Well, we'll find out what I think. If I'm two minds about it, or blown away by it, or just hate it, if I get, I might do a review. But going back to Marvel, I don't talk about modern Marvel, and I got to tell you that really, by making that decision, my enjoyment of the hobby really picked up again. But I kind of consider this vintage Marvel to a certain extent because this is a prequel to Earth X. And it's got Alex Ross and Jim Kruger on it, the guys who were behind Earth X. To me, Earth X, right up there with World War Hulk and Justice League versus Avengers, those to me are the bookends of what the real Marvel, for me. Everything that's come out after that or around those, you can forget about it. But this is Marvel's X, which is supposed to lead up to the events. These are the events that led up to Earth X, if you guys know what I'm talking about. Back in the day, I think Earth X came out like 20 years ago, and that's blowing my mind. So yeah, I'm checking these out here. Yeah, I never thought. I mean, I was really going back and forth. Do I show this? Do I not? And I'm like, well, it's not tied into the regular Marvel universe, so it could pay off. Okay, and I'm off of this book now. I've gotten what I wanted out of it. Grant Morrison returned from being editor in chief at Heavy Metal Comics, and he jumped right into Green Lantern, and I could feel that heavy metal influence on the Green Lantern book. He did 12 of those, and it had an ending where apparently time changed or something. I haven't quite got to the end of it. And all of a sudden, we got a three-issue series where it's Green Lantern Black Stars, where Hal Jordan is a Black Star. So I think the controller stepped in or something. If you know Green Lantern lore, you have the Guardians, and then the controllers were like, if you know Star Trek, it's like, here's the Vulcans and here's the Romulans. You know what I mean? Then they had the female species that went over here. All the females left the Guardians the billions of years ago and became their own thing. Sam Gunther, War Hulk was indeed good, and they act like it never happened. I'll never forget getting that first issue that Jeff Loeb and Ed McGuinness was on The Incredible Hulk, and it was like World War Hulk never happened. I was like, oh my God. But anyway, going back to this, but we got 3 issues where Hal Jordan is gotta make sure I get it right here, a Black Star, because these used to be dark stars and they went darker. So I'm real curious to see where we're going with this. I think that's very cool to turn around and just play around with the mythos a little bit and see what we have here. Because it's Grant Morrison. I don't feel like it's going to be a cheap knockoff of anything but a Gardner Fox story, maybe. All right, so what do we got here? Hey, Undisputed Frost is here. Have not seen you around in a while. What's up? What's up? You got here, probably got about 10 minutes left. So this book that I'm showing you, I've been trying to collect issue 25 to 300 of Cerebus, and I'm well under needing well less than 100 books, right? And but I'm getting in the trades also, right? So I have almost all of the phone book trades of Cerebus, right? And this one here, this is where I'm at with reading it all the way through. Man, that white cover. This is Rick's story. Rick is the character that married the girl that Cerebus was in love with, Jaka, right? So I'm really interested to see what this is going to be about, because Rick is very elderly now. Cerebus has ascended twice, if you've read the book, and apparently I'm kind of wondering if they're playing around with time here a little bit. But yeah, I got the trade of this on sale. I think it was like 75% off. So this was really a great deal, considering that it's, I'm trying to think what they call these editions, but Dave Sim has been re-releasing these editions to where they're on better paper and pages will be white again. And like I said, G-Mart really got the packaging right. I've never seen them send me a trade or a magazine with an actual backing board. So this will be great in there. I think like now I just need 2 of these collected editions and I have them all. So I cannot wait to read this. And I've kept saying, if you've watched me over the years say things about Cerebus and stuff, I'm always like, man, just read the first 150. Then I'm like, just read the first 200. now that I'm reading it all the way through from beginning to end, I'm still waiting for that point where it's unreadable now. I know it's coming, but I think we're like starting out with like issue 225 here, maybe. It's in the bag and a backing board, I could tell you, but 300 issues of Cerebus, and this is we're a third of the way through, and it's still keeping hanging me in there. Some good issues, some bad issues, some low points, some payoffs. It's had its highs and lows, but it still kept me interested. And it's amazing how it's an easier read. Keeps you more interested when you actually read it consecutive. This is actually over 1,000-page story. This is one big 300 issue story is what I'm trying to get at. Separated into little chapters like this, much like Neil Gaiman's Sandman. We got who? Paulo. Hey, what's up, brother? Hey, John C's out there. Undisputed Frost says, every time you go live, I'm asleep or busy. I know the feeling. John C. finally caught a live show. Throw out some questions, man. Albert, because, I'm down to like showing one book here. And that's a tradition that seems to be other people have pointed it out. A tradition of a Howler Mouse live show is phone going off. It's raining outside, bad internet, bad camera, or everybody shows up right I'm about to get done. It's amazing. Albert Bailey, ever read Richard Dragon Kung Fu Fighter? Good stuff. I read the 70s series and I read was it the 90s series or did it come out in the 2000s? I've read both volumes. Richard Dragon, it was fun. I think they could have done more with the character. Richard Dragon should have been in Suicide Squad with the Bronze Tiger, in my opinion. Sam Guthrie, I've always wanted to read Cerebus, but there's so much backstory to catch up on. Nah, man. You can skip the first trade if you want, because that's where it was a Conan knockoff. But the real story happens with issue 26, which is the second trade. Just get the second trade and read. Don't worry about feeling like you have to catch up. Just enjoy the read. I do say you want to stick through it with High Society and the 2 volumes of Church and State. That might be enough to hook you. And we'll see what we got here. Rob Ripper, what's your favorite cyberpunk stories, either in comics or movies? Johnny Mnemonic. Is that what it was? That Keanu Reeves, Johnny Mnemonic? I feel like that was based off of an old cyberpunk role-playing game that I dabbled in for like 5 minutes at one point because nobody around here really played it. Really enjoyed Johnny Mnemonic. And as soon as we get off here, Rob, where that's so out of left field, that question, I guarantee I'm going to think about 5 other things. But yeah, Johnny Mnemonic was awesome. I like the fact that movie didn't really blow up. You know what I mean? I feel like that's a cult movie. Dolph Lundgren's in it. Nobody knew it was Dolph Lundgren. This is before Keanu really blew up. He might have already been famous with Speed. I can't remember. I know it was a 90s movie. But yeah, I enjoyed Johnny Mnemonic. It was fantastic. It was like Blade Runner with punk music in it. It's what, I love that stuff. The look Blade Runner and all that stuff, right? So yeah, I'm gonna go Johnny Mnemonic. Where's G-Mart? Leslie Smith. G-Mart is apparently, I think they're a comic book shop in Chicago, Illinois, but I order online at gmart.com. You get 35% off if you have if you order your books 2 months in advance. John C. Love Blade Runner. I'll shape my whole life over Blade Runner, I think sometimes. I'm not sure. All right, guys, keep the questions coming in because I'm on the last book. I'm going to talk about this. Okay, so this is why I was able to meet my threshold of, I think, $85 so quick, along with other things that are on sale. And that's also, I don't know how many more G-Mart shipments I want to get because, honestly, there's one new book that I'm buying, and it's a miniseries. It's that Marvel X, right? So we'll see what comes out, what catches my eye. But this right here, this book, when I saw this, I just had to get it. I was going to get it. It's one of the few things I'm very excited about because I have almost everything reprinted in this hardback. But it's so nice to have something I'm going to be able to take the dust cover off and just read and not pull them out because I've found out that some of the stuff that's reprinted in this book are worth money. And I'll talk about them a little bit here. Here we go. We want to draw this out a little bit. Tom Bagley, the Cerebus story arc, High Society makes a ton of top 10 greatest lists. Don't My thing is what I've learned is that I used to do this thing where I really hyped a book. Whatever happened to the Man of Tomorrow, the Superman Alan Moore story. I'll die for people to read that and give DC and Alan Moore a chance. And I really hyped up the book. I don't want to hype up the Cerebus too much, right? Because I think they're solid. I think they're great reads. I think it's very sophisticated writing, and that's why I think you should dabble in it first. See what you think of it. If somebody told me they could not stand Cerebus as long as they gave it a real chance and read it, cool. What we got here? Sam Guthrie. Did you go to the Mountain Empire Comic Sale in Bristol this weekend? No, I did a live show yesterday. The Twin Valley County Card and Toy Show. I explained in that video where I went and why I went there. Albert Bailey, have you been reading the new Suicide Squad that's out now? No, I have not. Maybe I'll check it out online, like in a little commercial, decide if I want to get it. But this right here, what we have here is another Watchmen book. It's called the Watchmen Companion. And it's got a introduction by Ray Winnegar in here, right? Now, back in the 80s, DC had a line of role-playing games, right? I would love to give you the whole history on that, but nobody really played it around here. You could go get basic role-playing sets of the Marvel Universe. I had the basic set and the advanced set. Found a few people to play that with, but the big dog was D&D, AD&D, right? At least where I lived. Right, so discovered Watchmen, what was it, 88, I think. I knew about Watchmen, got that trade in hand. And over the years, I lucked up. A comic book shop here might have been going out of business, or I ran across it there, or I did this here. But they came out with a source book of Watchmen for a role-playing game, and they came out with 2 modules. Okay, the source book had Alan Moore approving and working on it, along with Dave Gibbons. So it's completely new material of Watchmen that is canon because Alan Moore worked on it. So if you're really into Watchmen, you can go through there and you'll get the stats on these heroes, little background stories and stuff. But one of the things I found very cool about it is if you read Watchmen in the first chapter, you see the foot kick into the door of the comedian, and he's in a robe and he jumps up, and he was writing on a ledger or a note. Well, you could see who he is writing the note to in the book, and you might be surprised. And that's what I mean. So this has like those 2 games. It has the 2 role-playing games, the actual modules where you can play the Watchmen through this, taking out the trash. What was the other one? Watchmen source book, Watching the Watchmen, and Watchmen taking out the trash, right? And it's got new art by Dave Gibbons and stuff. And one of those modules had the approval of Alan Moore. The source book is fantastic. Source book's very small, and I found out that thing's supposed to be worth money. I've had it for probably since like 1993 or 94, just because I was a Watchmen fan. And then this also reprints a few other things, like the Question Number 17, a book that I've told people about on this channel many times. The Question, who Rorschach was based on, is on a plane, and he gets a trade of the Watchmen, and he's reading it, and he's looking how Rorschach does things. Question gets off the plane, and he tries to act like Rorschach, take care of things his way, and he almost dies in the snow like Rorschach did. He dreams a dream of Rorschach and meets him, right? Then the other thing here is I don't know if I have many copies of that Question Number 17. I've been picking that thing up as I ran across it since the 90s. I probably have like 5 or 6 copies by now, if not more. And I've given away 2 or 3 of them, I think. But and then there's also the first appearance of Watchmen in DC Spotlight number 1. I know I have DC Spotlight number 2 and 3, but I swore I had number 1. And like I've talked about on this channel before, I've had 3 great robberies in my comic books. 1 in 2008, 1 in 2010. So I think if I don't have that DC Spotlight number 1, that's where it came with. DC Spotlight was a preview book, a free preview book that showed comics that DC is going to be putting out, and you got it for free, back in the 80s. And then they had the Who's Who pages of the Minutemen and the Watchmen that Dave Gibbons did for the 80s Who's in DC Comics and stuff, right? So here this big hardback, all this reprinted material, which I have owned or do own all of everything in here, but now I can just get this thing off the shelf. I've got enough Watchmen stuff now to where I think I can just fill up a whole bookshelf over here, right? So I was very excited to get this $40 book I got for 35% off. So brand new, untouched. And a big thank you to G-Mart for packaging this thing to where it came in fantastic. Still, I'm just very excited about that. And that's the haul, guys. Let's see what we have here, man. John C., I enjoyed the 80s Suicide. I did too. I just could not stand Luke McDonald's art. And by the time Luke McDonald got off the art on that one, I mean, like Luke McDonald's one of those guys. I'm not going to talk about him personally because I don't know him, but I cannot stand his art. Justice League Detroit, Suicide Squad. I'm like, how's this guy getting work? I found him on Iron Man for a while. I'm like, how does this guy get work? But that's what killed it for me. And when Suicide Squad wasn't on the newsstand around here anymore, I saw an issue or two later on of the series where they got a better artist on there. And I'm like, now this thing is off the newsstand. Sam Gunther, I think you should read Bendis's Legion just so you can roast it. Well, I got a setup now to where I can record a video and probably put the pages up there if I want to do it. I just think I need to make sure my blood pressure, check my blood pressure first before I do it, make sure I can handle it and be healthy. What we got here? Fainer 27 Howler. I'm currently reading Stan Lee's Steve Ditko Amazing Spider-Man all the way through for the first time, the complete Ditko run. Yeah, that stuff is just gold. I mean, duh. You know what I mean? Like, you don't really need me telling you that. That stuff is just gold. Ditko, to me, was in his prime. And I personally think that's his best stuff of what I've read. Grain of salt here stuff. I felt like a lot of Peter Parker was autobiographical. And maybe that it just felt honest. Maybe it was, maybe it wasn't autobiographical. But I really felt like Ditko was the man behind that. Now, Romita came in, and when John Romita, if you make it past the Ditko stuff, I think the magic of that was Mary Jane and Gwen Stacy and the whole dating aspect. Peter had grown up a little bit. He was in college or college age. His idea of like a date was you want to walk through the park and split a popsicle. You know, I mean, it was very sweet stuff, man. But yeah, the Ditko stuff is just amazing around that era. I loved him on Green Goblin and Hulk and Green Goblin, Spider-Man. I think it was like issue 13 or 14 where they're in the cave. That was some of my first Spider-Man stuff. And these little pocket books that you could read, you know, the size of a little novel, you know. I'm getting all excited just remembering about it. Albert Bailey, how much is your price limit on comics? I try to buy recent because Green Arrow comics are too much. My price limit, I buy cheap. Every now and then I might splurge a little bit, but that's few and far between. I just use my best judgment, and my whole deal and everything that I buy is that I'm always willing to walk away if I can't get a good deal. Then I've had times where I've done the thing where I pretend that I've left a shop or a flea market or a yard sale or the con in my head. I will walk away for a few minutes, and I pretend that I'm 20 minutes up the road heading home. And do I have that nagging feeling that I really want that book? I mean, I've been doing this a long time, guys. You got to understand that I've come up with different ways to figure out, do I really want something, you know? And then I'll go back and kind of try to negotiate. As long as I feel like I get a good deal and I don't like, I'm not going to come, I will never reach a point with comics where I'm going to blow the rent money. You know what I mean? No. So I don't really have a straightforward answer. It's all about your budget, pay your bills, make sure you can pay your bills, and how bad do you really want it? I think the most I've ever really spent on a comic was $26 on a 1964 Gold Key Johnny Quest book, and that thing is supposedly worth $800 last time I checked, even in the condition I have it. You know, who's going to pay for that? Who's going to give me $700 for that? Come on. We got here. Man, you guys have been talking. Epic Collections. People are talking about this and that. Hey, thanks, Sam. Sam says, gorgeous Watchmen book. I'm very happy to have it. I'm going to be ripping into that thing when I'm done here. Gore Vidal, I just got home and saw you were on. You found some Cerebus books. Yeah, I got a Rick Story trade. I have the actual issues of the story. I'm going to be reading the trade. In Epic Magazines, yesterday in a dollar bin, I found near complete set of Justice Society of America by Johns. Have you read it? I own it. I bought that thing month to month. If I didn't get it off the rack, I was getting it off of G-Mart. JSA, I have the prequels, the one shots that came out of All Star Comics and All American Comics and stuff, the bookends that led up to GSA #1 that was by James Robinson and Dave Goyer. Jeff Johns started coming in, I think, around issue 6 and stuff. It had Starman in it, Jack Knight Starman, so I was there. And to me, that was the most underrated book of the 2000s, 1999 on. That was the most underrated, greatest book you can be getting month to month. It was fantastic. Golden Age comics. Oh, Golden Age comics. Yeah, I haven't really dabbled in Golden Age comics that much. I do have 2 or 3. Don't get me wrong. I have a coverless Batman here somewhere. I just don't have the burning desire to have a lot of that stuff. I mean, don't get me wrong. I've seen strangely enough, some of the most beautiful artwork from the Golden Age that really grabbed me were Dollman covers. There's an issue where Dollman, if you get over the fact that he's the way he's dressed, you know, with his little red and blue shorts and little cape and stuff, and realize that this is the Incredible Shrinking Man. There's a cover of one of his books that I'm dying to get because somebody had just taken him, put him under the fountain in the sink in a kitchen, and he's crucified, tied up, and the water is coming down on the back of his head. I'm sitting here like, do people not see this piece of art that somebody's done that's very subtle, you know, with Doll Man of all people? So there's some really good stuff there. I read some Marvel Boy stories from the 50s that were brutal. That pre-code stuff, man. You'll be reading this little Golden Age simple story, and all of a sudden there's like just this freaking piece of violence in it that just like wakes you up. That John's run on Justice Society is awesome. The previous run by James Robinson, Dave Goyer is really good too. Oh yeah. Do you know Stanley? Now there's Gore Vidal, there's Justice Society of America, which was like sort of they rebooted the series and Jeff Johns started all over. That one's a little bit slower paced. The JSA series of 1999 to me is superior to that one. There's parts of the Justice Society of America, the volume 2, if you will, that were basically just a way for Alex Ross to come on there and sort of do the pre-Kingdom Come stories with Magog and Gog that he wanted and stuff. It really slowed the series down. Tom Bagley, did you know Stan Lee and Jack Kirby created Captain America? Apparently Marvel thinks so with Captain America The End. I caught that online a little bit and I just went on. I walked on. I have no time to be disgusted. You have one freaking job. This just kind of shows you who's working on comics, people who don't know comics. Blows my mind. Do I want to go to, I mean, I'm not going to blow it up here too much, but you know, when I had my appendix took out when I was 12, 13 years old, I'm really glad that I had a doctor who knew his job. You know? Yeah, that was a faux pas that was unforgivable in my opinion. It really was. Joe Simon and Jack Kirby, my friends. Yeah. We got Howler. I'm reading the Masters of Kung Fu Epics. Are you a fan of those? The issues that I remember reading, I'm positive Mike Zeck did the art, if not just the covers. Paul G. What was his name? Gulashi. I'm going to butcher that name because I'm going from memory, man. But the guy who did a majority of those issues, Paul Gulachi. Somebody help me out here. I'm tearing this name up out there. One of the most uncredited artists out there. I actually thought the Masters of Kung Fu books were better than Claremont and Burns' Iron Fist books with Marvel Premiere or something they were doing. All good works, all great stuff, but you know, one is mediocre and one is just out there. It's fantastic. I was really surprised with what Doug Munch, I think it was Doug Munch, that most of the issues I read did with that series. It was fantastic. I'm very glad that more and more people are learning or getting to know who Shang-Chi is. Scott Neely, I'm reading Superboy 1984 plus. If that's the series I'm thinking about, there was the New Adventures of Superboy, which I kept my teeth on early on, and I remember it had a lot of great Gil Kane covers. I swear I think he did some insides on those. You guys are taking me back here. And you're saying 1984 plus because after the Crisis on Infinite Earth, the only Superboy that was around was Superboy Prime, and then with the Return of Superman, we got the clone Superboy Connell Kent. Oh, oops, 1994. I see you now. Yeah. Those books were hit or miss. One of the arcs that I really liked were around issue 50, leading up to issue 15. A little bit after that is where he went full on Commandy. Carl Kissel took him full on Commandy, which was funny. Either you do Commandy, I'm there. Okay. Well, guys, it is telling me that I am unable to connect to the chat. So it is now an official Howler Mouth's live show. Unable to connect to chat. Please try again later. They have cut me off. So I'm going to have to wind it up here. I might have time to do another live stream later this week, possibly over the weekend too. So if you guys have any more questions or any topics or anything maybe you want me to do, I'm no longer on Twitter. So just let this video load up and put them in the comments section, man. I cannot believe this. Unable to connect to chat. Please try again later. Man, we were on a roll too. All right, guys. Be excellent to each other. Thanks for everybody that's popped in. And I'll catch you later.